So there's like this constant stream of stuff that's been happening in the world. And I think I'm just now noticing it. I think it's been this way for a long time. But it looks like the world's like being invented around me. People like talk about stuff like that's in my mind. Like living beings don't do that stuff. Like it's like they're in place or something when I go places, and they start having conversations like related to me, and like I get involved in some stuff, and then like when I started seeing this, I started doing a whole bunch of crazy stuff too. So if you even like start talking about that stuff, then I fully understand that you know, I am seeing what I'm seeing, and it's like the world's being invented around me, like a lot of stuff, and I'm trying to like look back like as far as I can, and like I'm not sure, like I think they can plant things with time, like you know, if they're inventing like clones and stuff like that to comment on, they can easily, you know, if they're like, if like the bands are clones and stuff, if they're just being like auto-generated by a system here, then they can easily like make bands post music 10 years ago that I didn't hear, and everyone's like, oh yeah, this was great, I remember listening to this and stuff. And I mean, but I've seen this so much stuff, I know it's like different things like this are happening and stuff. Like they started releasing music and stuff and so like courses and classes to speak with me directly. Like I asked to see this girl I know, Daya. I don't know if her or her man watch my videos, but I asked to see like everyone I've ever met again, almost like everyone I like remember their names and you know a bit about them and stuff. Like a lot of people I met, and then they would like clones would appear of these people. Like I asked to see my dad, and like a clone of my dad appeared in the world, and he came up and talked to me, and then the clone of the Daya person came and talked to me. And not only that, when that happened, I was watching like a self-help video here, like a course. Yeah, I guess it was more self-help videos. It wasn't the actual classes and stuff I was signing up for. And it was one of those things. It was talking about this stuff too, like what I was listening to at that time. It was telling me how, you know, like they say there's some of us who are doing this and stuff, but it's like really like there's a lot of something that's being created around me specifically. Like who are these other people? Like there's like 6 of us or something in the world. And they were like guiding me through the interaction with that person in this video made for other people and stuff, and you know, posted publicly. And I just happened to be listening to right at that exact moment in time when this happened, when this person shows up and speaks with me and starts talking to me. And they have the same voice. They have the same voice pattern. They're into music, and I mean it's like a real close clone and stuff. The personality, they're reading books, and I mean think of how far-fetched that is these days, especially to find a female reading some books and stuff. I haven't seen many people read books in a long time, and. I mean, but it's like I could tell right away the second she spoke. I was like, wait a minute, I've been asking to see this person again. But I've seen it so many times, it like keeps happening. Like I'm inventing this world with my mind, and I'm not like sure just how much and how far. Like I'm not sure how far this goes back, that I'm like, this stuff is like coming from my mind into the world and stuff, but it's happening. This stuff is really happening to me. And I tried to explain to someone who's been talking to me for 10 years, like I slowly started talking to them and being like, you know what, like I didn't talk to you about that yet. How are you talking to me about this stuff? And I was like, that's really weird. And I started getting like really aversive towards people because like everyone around me started doing this, like where they shifted, and I was testing people because I thought I was being watched by the New World Order or something like that, right? and something like that. And I dated people who worked with Donald Trump, Hollywood, and traveled the world and all this stuff. And I was like, like people like that, I was suspect of. I was like, you work with the president and stuff. Like, you work with the richest people in my city. And then stuff like that made me like look back at my family life too. It's like my dad worked for the New World Order people. He worked for the richest people in the city and stuff too. Like long before I knew anything about anything or was thinking I could ever do or change anything or try to run for president like I have. And so like the people I've known like a long time, like the dude who I thought was my best friend, like he changed when I started like changing my mind and my thoughts about the world around me, like things started shifting and stuff in the world. And like he became like an enemy and stuff. I mean, but then I realized like, wait a minute, there's like a certain group that's been in my life more than anyone, like my whole life, and then the people around me who are close to me, it's like they started like I was testing them for a while and I didn't see it for a long time, but I was just wondering like, how does this person know this? How does this person figure this out? Like they're not like whatever's generating them, generates everyone like with no math ability and all this. Like, so obviously I'm assuming it's like a sim. And, like not everyone goes to school and get all A's and stuff, because if they did, there'd be questions like just then arising, like why, like how come everyone knows everything and the world isn't like super perfect and advanced and fixed yet and stuff. And so like the same thing when you play a video game happens, like why don't you just enter the video game and everyone else in the video game has already defeated the bad guys for you and already, leveled up your swords and stuff like that and already found all the items you need and took care of it themselves. It's because they were programmed not to do that and stuff. And so that's what I'm assuming like this is like a simulation like game world and stuff. I mean, we really have to discuss this, but when I discuss it with the people who are all like mind hijacked, like it would do no good to include them in the discussion and stuff, because I've had them like be like, "What are you talking about?" It's like, "What are you talking about? Are you talking to me about my personal life and things that normal people have no idea even exist in this world, or normal people don't do anything. I don't sit around and talk about anything that's already been talked about or do anything that's already been done for the most part. And I mean, I barely even eat and stuff. Like, everyone's already ate millions of times, billions, trillions, infinity. Why would I want to do that again? That sounds... whatever, I guess there's new food and stuff like that. But anyways... the illusion of taste buds, but this is like happening. Because I be going to places and just like things I thought of or said will like appear. Hell, I even talked about. So many things. I was like, man, I'm gonna carry a race flag with me, a race flag to flag the bus on when a different bus I'm not going to get on comes by. That way they don't stop and just keep going and get to where they got to go. And then the next day, like at one of the events, then it was actually like a little Christian event, little meal and stuff. Like a person walking around with a checkered flag and stuff, or not a checkered flag, but a race flag, and it's like, oh my God. But like that just been happening so much. It's like everything's entirely, like, I don't know if it's everything. I don't remember everything I've done. Like, I move on all the time. I'm like a child. I have little memory of what's happened in my life and stuff. And I don't remember the first few years, so I'm assuming I was injected in this world at like age 4 or 8 or something like this, like injected into a shell of a 4 or 8-year-old or something. I mean, there's always a possibility that, like, in the world, there's, like, it's a video game world, so there's a possibility there's, like, a bad guy in the world, and then maybe they've been, like, poisoning me and trying to erase my memory. And in fact, like, the religions do talk about, like, there are people who are, like, hunting down, so, there's a famous person who looks like me and stuff, oddly. That's odd. And, they say they tried to kill all the firstborns a long time ago to kill that person off. And so obviously, like, back then, there was a group of people who thought someone was, like, inventing the world around them, and they were trying to hunt them down and kill them. And, whatever you think of those stories, these things are happening. I don't have to make stuff up for my life to be exciting. I got enough stuff I don't even talk about that's, real, just off the walls and the stuff I've seen and been through. And wow, man, we're only halfway through it and stuff, and we're already, like, at the point where I'm watching like the system show me that they're shapeshifters. Like, I don't necessarily think that means there's, like, a shape-shifting alien race here. Is like an enemy or a friend and stuff. I think that could just be, like, the system itself that's governed. If there's a system above me governing the creation, like, like if you're in a computer and you're playing a game and your name's Link and you can't change your name to something else, or you got to get the Hyrule sword and you can't go make yourself the Kick Cloud Kicker Final Fantasy sword. It's, like, set like that. And so I'm thinking, like, even when they're showing me, like, the shape shifting and stuff, I'm not sure that those people are, like, in control of, their abilities or whatever, and it wasn't just, like, the system showing me, like, hey, look, we can, like, reface. I can't think of the word I was thinking of, but reskin. It's like, look, we can just reskin humans and stuff. Because there's some old dude driving some cars that were, like, chasing me around. And then, like, they were showing me, like, the cars coming in front of me, and then they would reappear behind me and speed past me again. And it was, like, a group of them. And one of their license plate even, like, it said, like, there's 7 of us. Because I guess, I don't know, maybe this is coming from my mind. Because I was asking, too, like, how many are there? Because they wouldn't, like, pull by when I had my video cameras on and stuff. So I turned them off, even though I'm in this unknown place, hundreds of miles away from civilization, and I'm dealing with all these, learning about all this stuff and watching people follow me and stuff for thousands of miles. To go do my presidential campaign stuff and attend events, political events. Some might call them riots or protests sometimes, depending on which one they were, media events, whatever. And so I'm sure at that point in time they showed me they could just reskin the person right away and stuff. And I've seen other things too, like where I'm like, yeah, like they're, like, doing this over here and they're not doing that over here. And it's like, okay, so those persons are being shifted so they don't interfere with things, because if they did the same thing to me, it might interfere. Or who knows, in the past maybe there might have been things where they were trying to interfere, like maybe to make it look exciting and stuff. Because what would a game world be if there wasn't, like, it's like, why does war exist? Well, in the real world, it doesn't. So we come back to, like, simulations. You can't protest war and stuff like that. You can't protest war if there is no war to protest. You can't protest hatred if there is no hatred to protest. And so if in the real world we have all those things, people act normal and stuff, just like within this world, there's games we create to go relive that stuff. I'm assuming, like, that's what this is. This is, And it could be my fault, because if it's a full thought invention system, then yeah. Anyways, I know this stuff's happening. Like, you can't. I've even pulled other people aside. I've asked other people to participate and do things, and then people came and talked to them, and things like that. It, like, appear out of nowhere and start talking to them. It's like not necessarily out of nowhere, but what they're talking about, they don't know. They shouldn't know about these other people and stuff, so they just show up. And when I had someone do some things, and then like they had some warning song. They put a song out about, you let other people be like us. Like, watch out what happens when the other people have our powers and stuff. Like, because the music they're putting out is like directly speaking to you. Like, sometimes it's just popped up right then and there and stuff. And I'm pretty sure there's been several incidents. Like when they did the reskinning thing, they were showing me like, hey, we can do this. And I posted a video of when I was at a tourist spot in California, and the system just took over everybody at the tourist spot. And I took a video of that and posted it, like how all the groups at this packed tourist spot were all lined up with each of their little group. And they all had a group too. There was no one else. I don't think there was anyone else out there like me who was alone or with one other person or something. It's like everyone all just lined up in a group. So I was running around asking everyone, like, what the hell's going on? What are you guys hiding from me? Like, what are you guys doing and all this stuff? I was like, if you guys know what's going on here? There's some crazy stuff going on in this world. And then the system answered my question by making every single being there line up, and I can't even say that's the system for sure, because my own emotions might have steered them towards not wanting to talk to me, because I know people aren't supposed to like the crash. I mean, they do, but they're not supposed to like the party crash, or the event crash, or when someone ambushes you with questions about what the hell's going on in the world, or Bibles or whatever people ambush you with. People supposedly don't always take well to that and stuff, and that was just my method. I mean, I was getting worried with the 2020 stuff, and when they that's when they really came and started to show me. I was already seeing this stuff happen, but that's when they came and started to show me and directly tell me I'm controlling the world and stuff. And not quite directly, the direct hey, it's you, hasn't been too often, but they'll be yeah, this person doing that and that, this person with his finger in his nose and his butt and one in his eye at the same time. The other day said Hukajawa, and the world changed, and then it's well, who says Hukajawa besides me? So clearly they're talking to me, but someone came up to me the other day and was asking me if I need stuff, and then he's you're God, right? And that was kind of the first person who is verbally identified that. But I can tell you, some of these other people have come up to me and they've identified that through other ways, and they're pointing out hey, you're controlling the entire world right now. You're making changes in everything, and they were pointing that out without saying those direct words, but pretty much. So this new person who said that, who directly addressed me as that the other day, that's the first time someone's came out and directly addressed me as that. But that's the feeling I'm getting here. If I'm creating humans, if I can summon humans with my mind, I have this power. So instantly, when I started seeing some of this stuff happen, I'm understanding all these other things. It's oh, that's how the creation is created, because the creation is a thought creation, and it's not what they're saying it is, or rather it is, and they've classified different beings upon the earth, and they've kind of labeled certain, there could be infiltrator clones amongst them, but it's like a lot of people, and a lot of people have always been there too, who could just change and stuff like that. And yeah, I'm definitely like summoning people, like whatever it is, and then the other ones who are already there in place, like, and then that means these people's whole families who think they're real living beings, like they would have to be involved if it was just like some shapeshifter scam and stuff. But that means like this person appears here directly, like when I asked for them to be summoned, like all of a sudden their whole lifeline appeared so they could be in this position in the world at this specific time to meet me and stuff. It's like, it means the whole lifeline, that everything around them could not have been lined up like that, you know? That's what that means. When I can like summon, when I can ask to see a clone of people I know and stuff like that, or people I don't know, or anyone, when I see that, that means like that person like had to have been just generated. And their entire story around them must have been too, because they can't just, there's not that many clones of some of these unique type of people I've met, and especially like when we're talking about like my father, it's like, or someone close to me, it's like I know a lot about this person and how they act, and this thing is exactly like that. And I know it's happening. Like this stuff is real. Wow. What's the word real mean anymore? But this is what's going on here. And it's time to like take control and do this stuff right. I'm trying to. This kind of like pissed me off at first to learn it, and then like no one ever dropped me a memo and stuff. And now all of a sudden, you know, I asked for telepathy powers. Apparently, like, that could be excused when other people know now, like, and come up to me and be like, hey, you're God, and stuff like that. And no one used to put the link that I look like, no one used to tell me, like, hey, you know, you look like Jesus. I always knew that from, like, looking in the mirror and stuff. But everyone always told me, like, I looked like Trent Reznor or Peter Steele when I had black hair or stuff like that, but I always seen the other thing. I always seen like the other thing. That's the only likeness I ever seen. Even when I was a kid, I looked like an alien, and some of the pictures, Byzantine pictures of him, he had like alien eyes and stuff. So I don't look like that version now. I look like the other versions. But anyways, yeah, like, wow, like, is that really what's going on? But how come, like, there's certain things, like, I wanted in life that weren't sent to me, especially if they're, like, in violation, if they would be violating, like, the laws that the person who looks like me put forth into the world and is supposed to uphold and, you know, be a champion of, like some of them, like you only be with one person, you know, or get with someone and stay with them. It's like, well, you gotta like send the person I want. But then again, I've had this allergic reaction around people for a long time, and because they kind of did to me, they would kind of like keep me out of society. Like they're trying to keep me from learning. And it took me very few minutes once I started going into society to see this stuff happening. So, I guess. I don't know why, but I realized, like, wait a minute, so this has all been set up and staged or something since I was a kid. I mean, maybe it's all coming from my mind and I just had, like, different thoughts and stuff, but I don't remember the first few years. And again, I think, like, it's probably like a rail-based game. And there's like set things in stone. But it could be I got to choose those things before I entered the realm and stuff. I don't know. But this is happening. This is real. And we should figure out what it is, what's doing that. I mean, I think it's important to know if, if people are inventing people with their minds and stuff, like, it's important to understand, like, how this is happening and what's going on. Because that answers more questions than any science book or math book or history book or teacher or anyone in the world will ever tell you. Is they're not even discussing it. No one's even like, hey, clones are appearing, and when I asked for them, and hey, like, these people are like appearing in front of me and talking about my personal life and stuff, like just out of nowhere, like all of a sudden their topic of conversation to each other has nothing to do with what two other people would even talk about to each other sometimes. But it's more like a direct communication line to me, and there'll be like 30 people away on the other side of the room, but I can hear that too. And watch their mouths move to it, and it's like, wow, these people like aren't even talking to each other, even though it appears like if you got it on video, like that they're talking to each other, but their conversation was not about something that they would have with each other. It was more like a direct conversation with me and stuff. And hell, like a lot of these times I remember, it's like these are like thoughts in my mind, like coming out in the shape of a human. Like, it's not even necessarily like a game system is creating it. It's like a thought simulation where my thoughts are creating the world around me and stuff. And man, like, we can go places with this.